So let's start our third session for the day. We have Adityan as our speaker. Adityan is a third year undergraduate student majoring in math and computer science at the Chennai Mathematical Institute. He is interested in algorithm design, especially in algorithmic game theory, an area in the intersection of math, computer science, and economics. Apart from academics, he is interested in juggling, percussion instruments, and he is also a big cricket buff. He will be talking about a very interesting topic today, that is algorithmic game theory. So over to you, Adityan.
Yeah, thanks, Shweta. Okay, so we'll just be talking stories today. We won't do a lot of math. I mean, we'll try to understand. I mean, why there's a very big area out there where people want to study economics, they want to study computer science and math. I mean, study all three in a single setting. So in particular, we'll want to look at places where being strategic is important. Uh, Designing good mechanisms, whatever those are important. So yeah, since we are just going to look at stories, right? Yeah, so essentially, I have a bunch of stories, and if you're stuck at any point, just ask me. So I don't plan to finish all slides. So like yesterday, Shweta, can you remind me like when we are like say 50
Yes,
minutes from
I'll
the start?
remind you 10 minutes before the session ends. Yeah.
Hmm, thanks.
Okay.
So yeah, guys, feel free to bug me with questions, and yeah, we'll get going. So first, we'll talk about a pretty cool controversy which happened in 2012 London Olympics, and it happened in women badminton, and it happened in women badminton as well. Lots of controversies that happened, and the controversy that happened is also not the typical sports controversy that you would hear, like say it was not a match fixing, or it was not a failed drug test or something of that sort. It was a pretty cool thing in total. So we'll first understand how the tournament was organized, and that will help us understand you know what the problem was. So the tournament was something like this T20 World Cup which is happening. So in this T20 World Cup, there are two pools, Group A and Group B. In that tournament, there are four pools, Group A, B, C, and D. And what would happen was, within each group, the playoffs, sorry, the preliminary stage was essentially a round robin inside each group. So what essentially happens is, say pick Group B for example. So there are four teams in Group B. We'll refer to teams by their initials. So there is WY, FK, GP, and SL. So these four teams will play, the other three teams in their group. So that will be how many six games in this group, is it? So it'll be 6 games per group. Okay. So this is like the first round cutoff. And from here, what happens is the top two teams from each group qualify and they move into the next stage. So in this World Cup, so essentially we have two teams playing in the semi-finals. But here the top two teams from four groups qualify. So we have 8 teams. So we have a quarter final, we have a semi-final, and then we have a final. All right. And how is the quarter finals held? It's again the typical fashion, right? So the winner of Group A will play against the runner-up of Group C. The winner of Group B will play against the runner-up in Group D. The winner of Group C will play against the runner-up Group A, and the winner of Group D will play against the runner-up of Group B. And once the semi-finals are held, from there on, it's pretty natural. So whoever wins the first semi-final and whoever wins the second quarter-final, sorry, will play against each other in the first semi-final. Similarly, winner of Q3 and winner of Q4 will play against each other in S2 semi-final 2, and the winner in both the semi-finals will play against each other in the final. And essentially, two teams qualify to the finals. The winner will take the gold. The other team will take the silver. And we have to decide who's also who's going to win the bronze also. And that will be one of these four semi-finalists, out of which two teams are going to get the gold and silver anyways. So the losers of the semi-finals will play against each other to decide who's going to get the bronze. So where this tournament format is not very magical. I mean, it happens in football, it happens in cricket, it happens in maybe chess also. So this is not really magical. But this tournament format was actually what caused this big controversy. So what happened was there was this very exceedingly strong team from China. So this team, QY from China, right? They were super strong. They were expected to win the gold at the start of the tournament, and they did manage to win the gold at the end of the tournament. That is all right. But what happened was on the last day of the preliminary stages, the QA team had beaten this team from Japan and Hong Kong. This PJ team from Denmark had beaten these teams from Japan and Hong Kong. And on the last day, these two teams were facing off. These two teams have essentially qualified, but the winner will finish with 3 points, so will take the first place. The loser will finish with 2 points and will take the second place. And it so happened that this PJ team, who are not really a team of superstars, they managed to beat this QY team from China. And this team is really heavy. Remember, this QA team from China is really heavy, and these guys finished second in the group, and this not so strong team from Denmark finished first. Okay, and the scenario in Group A was also pretty similar. So the first place team and the second place team in Group A, they had beaten 3 and 4, and 2 had also beaten 3 and 4. And those two teams were playing the last game of the group to decide who is going to go first and who is going to come second in the group. So that game is yet to happen. So this Group D came where this QY team lost. That happened first, and then the 1 and 2 deciding game of Group A would happen next. So see what happens because of this upset here. So if they had won, this QY team would have finished here, but instead they finished in D2. All right. Now look what happens to A1. A1 will have to face this QY team in the semi-finals, whereas A2 will have to face this QY team only in the final. You see this? So the A2 are here, so they play semi-final 2, whereas D2, where these guys finish, the strong team finish, they'll play S1, and then from S2 you play the final, and you'll have to meet this very strong team only in the final. And as a team, what do you want? You want to play the final so that you are in some sense guaranteeing a silver. So if you are facing these guys in the semi-finals, right, then what you'll do is you'll lose with a very high chance. So which means you'll actually have to battle for a bronze. Whereas if you go to the final, you'll be battling for a gold. You are guaranteed a silver. So it is advantageous for like the teams in Group A to finish second instead of finishing first. Why? Because you'd want to meet this very strong team as late as possible. And what essentially happened is that these two teams realized that, and they fought absolutely hard in that last game to lose their game. And they didn't even try to make it look as if they're playing properly. They smashed serves right into the net. Like they served outside the court, and I mean, you and I could have played a better game. So that was how they played that game. They fought really hard to lose. And another game of a similar sort happened in Group C also. And this was the controversy, right? I mean, these two teams, by playing to lose, they didn't break any laws of the sport. But in some sense, there are these unwritten spirit which they had broken, right? And this caused a big controversy. And at the end, these two teams were disqualified, and the teams from Group C were also disqualified. Sorry. Yes. So is this setting clear to everyone? I mean, if not, this story we'll listen to one more story. So I mean, you can stop me.
Can I ask?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so there are 6 matches, right, for each group?
Yes.
Yeah, so when QY and the other team fought, they fought 2 matches, right, together.
So what do you mean by QY and the other team fought?
Can you go to the...
Yeah, here?
Yeah, so QY and the PJ team fought 2 matches, right? 2 matches they played against each other, right?
No. So it's everybody plays everybody else once. So QA played Japan first. They beat Japan. They played Hong Kong next. They beat Hong Kong. Okay, similarly, Denmark beat Japan and Hong Kong.
Okay, fine. I get it. Yeah.
Oh, so when I said 6 matches, I didn't mean 6 matches per team. I meant 6 matches in total.
Okay.
It's so for each team plays 3 and you are double counting each game.
Yeah.
So this story is clear, right? I hope. I mean, otherwise just button. It's fine.
Sir, can you just repeat the story, sir? I joined at 4 minutes late, sir, so I didn't get the entire thing.
No, so the idea here being, the format of the tournament was such that at some point a team actually played very hard to lose a game, and that is essentially because how the league stages progress into the playoffs. So to make it a very exaggerated example, think of this QY team as the say the English cricket team, and then the team playing in the other semi-final to be say a team which is captained by me. Of course, like any team would want to face us in the semi-finals, happily beat us, go to the final, and then play England in the finals rather than playing England in the semi-finals. Sorry. So yeah, so the point being that the tournament was so designed in which at some point people actually played to lose. And why did this happen? So what's the point of organizing a tournament, right? As fans, what do we want? As organizers, what do they want in the tournament? They want quality games. They want sport of the highest caliber to be played, sport in the highest level to be played, and we want good entertainment. But players need not want to give good entertainment, right? I mean, players would want to get their best medal. I mean, they want to get silver, gold, or bronze, and they want to maximize what they win. They have no necessity to fight really hard. I mean, here it turns out you'll have to fight really hard in certain games so that you win at least a minimum number of games so that you qualify. But once you qualify, you can actually be strategic and then decide where you want to finish, and then which gateway to the knockout stages would you want to take. So here it's not a single objective function that we are dealing with. I mean, generally when you're solving a puzzle, right? So what do we want to do? We want to maximize something. So we want to say maximize the profit, for instance. But here we have two objective functions here. There are two entities fighting against each other, and the objectives of these two entities are different. They do not really match, and this causes such a big a furore. This caused such a big furore, and I mean this could have happened in this tournament also. I mean, if in this T20 World Cup also, if say Australia had finished with a better run rate than England, then the teams in the other group might want to finish second instead of first, so that they might want to delay playing England as much as possible. I mean, so I'm talking in the sense England is quite a strong team than say an Australian team, right? So we'll talk about two ways to deal with this problem. I mean, is there any questions, guys? Okay, cool. So we'll talk about two ways to deal with this problem. So the first way is to actively take part in designing a tournament. So we say, well, why did the problem arise? Well, we made the tournament to happen in such a way. Why not make the tournament to happen in a different way so that these problems don't happen? So what we can probably do is have something like a round robin. I mean, round robin will have its own set of problems, but that might be one possible solution. So at any point, every team would just want to win every game. So that might be one solution. But the point here which I'm trying to make is here we will be absolutely nosy. We will be very active. We'll be very aggressive. We'll change how people interact with each other. We'll change how the tournament is being held. Yeah. So we look at another story. I mean, I guess you people might know what spectrum is, right? Can someone tell me what spectrum is?
Range.
Yeah, go ahead. Wait,
And the
someone
range.
started talking. Yeah, sure. It is in some sense a range. And yeah, so here we'll talk about radio spectrum or yeah,
Electromagnetic spectrum.
yeah. So the point here is, spectrum is kind of valuable. I mean, not the light spectrum, but say, think of the radio spectrum and all. How do you make calls? You essentially communicate to a tower in some place, and that tower will communicate with the other person whom you are trying to call, and then you'll connect with each other, right? So in some sense, this spectrum is a very valued thing because there are very big players in the market, in the communication market, in the TV broadcasting market. So New Zealand were trying to sell these spectrum to broadcasting houses, and this happened in 1990. So think of it this way. So suppose New Zealand government was trying to sell 10 blocks of spectrum, and they would run some surveys and then estimate how valuable it is. And at the start, they thought that you sell it to people, people will be willing to pay up to $250 million for this 10 spectra in total.
What is this spectrum? Could you repeat?
So spectrum is essentially how like waves, right? Like think of it as radio waves.
Okay.
I mean, we won't go into details about what range you'd want to emit to communicate and whatever.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, so when you're talking about revenue, then the value of a specific spectrum will be based on the number of customers that use them.
That is dependent on the house also, right? It also depends on the broadcasting house.
Okay, sir.
So for instance, I'm someone like Airtel.
Yes, sir.
I would be willing to pay much more for the spectrum because I know I'll be able to make a lot of profit.
Okay, sir.
But if I just began my company yesterday,
Okay, sir.
I don't have a customer base, so I won't be able to make a lot of money.
Okay, sir.
So I won't be willing to pay a lot of money for this spectrum.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
And that is a nice question that you asked. That is in some sense part of the model that we'll be looking at. So if you go and buy milk bikis from store, you would have 10 rupees or 15 rupees written as the MRP. And you either take the packet or you don't take the packet. I mean, there's no discount or something of that sort you'll get. But the point being, there is something called a selling price. But here, for this spectrum, you don't have this thing called a selling price. What you have is something called value. So I might say, okay, if I get the spectrum, I'll be able to use this in my business, and I'll be able to make say $500 million, not $500 million. Let's say $50 million with it. All right. This $50 million might not be the same for everyone. As we had mentioned some time back, Airtel might think of it as $50 million because they are a very strong house. Whereas if I start a company, I'll value it only for $5 million because I don't have a strong base. So what we have here is different people have different values for this good. And will people want to pay what they value to buy this good? So think of it this way, right? So if I'm a broadcasting house and I can make $50 million if I buy spectrum, if I have to pay $50 million to buy spectrum, then the net profit that I make is zero. Now I'll be able to make money worth 50 million. I'll be spending 50 million. The net profit is zero. So I would want to spend something lesser than 50 million to buy, so that I'll actually have some net profit. So is this model clear?
Yes, sir.
Is this idea about different people having different values? Cool. And another thing which we'll have to consider is this. So suppose we are buying a cricket bat, for instance, and if someone's auctioning cricket bat, I mean, why would I want to buy 10 cricket bats? I would want to buy one. So with cricket bat, there's no, I mean, money that you can make by putting it in a business or something. But say by playing cricket, I get happiness worth $20. Then by buying 2 cricket bats also, my happiness is going to be $20. By buying 3 cricket bats also, my happiness is still going to be worth $20. Yeah, someone had a question, is it? So the happiness that I get is going to be 20. But if I'm paying, $5 per bat, okay. So when if I get one bat in the auction, the net profit, we'll call it utility, that is 20 minus 5, that is 15. If I actually end up buying two bats because maybe the auction just went bizarre, I'll pay 20 minus 5 into 2, $10. Or my net profit is 20 minus 5 into 2, $10. If life really sucks and I actually end up buying all 10 bats, well, like my profit here is going to be 20 minus 5 into 10, which is like minus 30. So the best thing that can happen is I essentially want only one bat, and buying more bats is not a really good thing to happen for me. Okay, I hope this is clear. And this in some sense is a complicated problem. I mean, designing an auction to efficiently sell bats in this setting is, or a spectrum this way, is really hard. Because there are these additional constraints which says people do really want only one block of spectrum. They don't have use for two and all. We'll begin with a easier problem. Think of assume we are just auctioning of one iPhone, 1 second-hand iPhone. All right. And before we analyze how to auction this off, can someone try guessing what an auction means? So how would you in some sense define an auction?
A place where people bet to buy something.
Okay. So what really happens in an auction?
The
Yeah,
base selling price will be fixed, but it can keep increasing according to the bids of those who want to buy it.
Okay, that's a nice start. So what you are saying is like
so for the cost, a lower bound is defined, but the upper bound can go as much as required.
The base price is already decided, like 20 lakhs or something.
So it's like kind of public sale of any product or something where the starting price is fixed and is sold to the person who pays the most.
Nice. So we all imagine auctions to be like the IPL auction, right? People sit in tables, raise hands, and I mean a lot of grand things happen there. I mean it's really cool. The IPL auction is really fun to watch, understand, and follow.
Yeah.
But so we'll try to abstract out stuff as to what really is an auction, right? So when we think of the IPL auction, it's a very specific kind of auction. We'll try to define auctions in a very general sense. So what do you need to do in an auction? As an auctioneer, I need some way to collect bids from people. So one way to collect bids is have people raise hands as in the IPL auction, get the price increasing, and whoever whoever remains, whatever is the highest bid, that's the collected bid. That is one way to collect bids. Another way to collect bid is just ask people to write their favorite number on a piece of paper, fold that piece of paper, put it in a box. So the IPL auction is called an ascending price auction. In some sense, the price of the good, the price of the player is always increasing. So it's called ascending price auction. Whereas these kind of auctions where you write your favorite number on a piece of paper, put it in a box, your bid is in some sense sealed, right? So it's called a sealed bid auction. Very creative names. Okay. So the first step is the auctioneer requires some method in which he'll actually be able to collect bids from people. All right. Okay, so now I have collected bids. Now what should I do as the auctioneer? So in the IPL auction, like I have made people bid against each other. In the sealed bid auction, I have collected like all those bids. Can someone tell me what the next step is?
Could you
Let me
repeat
just
the first step?
Sorry, what? Can
Could you repeat what you just said?
So the first step is you need a way to collect bids from people.
Yeah, then continue the bid until the person who says the highest.
Yes. So so what you are saying is okay. You're defining a full auction there. So your entire idea of continue the bid till something happens. You're merging two things here. So continue the bid is still in the phase where we are collecting bids.
start
But
the value from 100 or get say the bid value starts at $100.
no, so we are still talking about how to collect bids, right? So that part is done. If it is the IPL auction, people have somehow bid against each other. The bidding is over. If it is a sealed bid auction, you have made everyone write their favorite number in an envelope and collected their bids. Okay. Okay. So maybe I'll tell this. You have to decide whom to give the good to. Okay. So in the IPL auction, you decide, okay, how would you collect bids? You'll actually have people raise their hand till everybody else drops out. In the sealed bid auction, you say, okay, I'm going to get sealed bids from people. And then in the IPL auction, you say, okay, whoever remains, I'm going to give the good to that person. In the sealed bid auction, we might say, okay, I'm going to award the iPhone to the person with the highest bid. So suppose Vinay sir and I are participating in a sealed bid auction. Vinay sir writes $90 for the iPhone. I write $80. Then Vinay sir is the highest bidder. So we decide how that Vinay sir is going to win the auction.
But if you want to change your bid to 100 after that, then
yeah. So in this format of auction, that is not allowed. I mean that can't be supported.
oh, okay.
Whereas in the ascending price auction, that is supported.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So quick recap. First step, collect bids. Second step, decide whom to give the good to. Can someone tell me what's remaining? I mean, if I say the answer, it's trivial, but I mean, you just need to notice what's remaining.
Collecting money.
Exactly. We have given someone the good.
Collect the money.
Yeah, right. We have given the good to someone. But we need to get payments, right? I mean, we don't want to hand the good out for free.
For that, like if it's an ascending price auction, like in IPL, that doesn't happen continuously. It just happens at the end from each team.
No, it happens continuously, right? So if Pat Cummins is coming under the hammer, some team bids for 16 crores, KKR bid for 16 crores. In some sense, 16 crores is deducted from their budget. I mean, they make the payments at the end of the auction,
Yeah,
but in
that's
some
what-
sense, there's an agreement for payment saying, okay, I will pay 16 crores for Pat Cummins.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Yeah. So, but the point being, there is some kind of payment happening there.
Yep.
Okay. And in the IPL auction, what payment to collect is pretty natural. I mean, people say I'm willing to pay 16 crores for Pat Cummins. You collect 16 crores for Pat Cummins. Great. Okay. But in the sealed bid auctions, well, I mean, Vinay sir writes 90 for the iPhone. I write 90 for the iPhone. And suppose we do a very natural thing. So because Vinay sir wrote $90 on his bid, what if we actually collect $90 from him? Okay. So this is a very natural thing to do, right? And we'll try to understand what problems come from this. And for this, we need to go back to that thing that I was talking about some time back about say Airtel valuing the spectrum more than some company that I start today. Okay. So suppose Vinay sir thinks buying that iPhone is worth $100 to him. He can make calls. He can take nice lectures with that phone. So that phone is worth $100 to him. Okay. If we do a first price auction, so this thing is called a first price auction where we charge the winner its bid. Now we'll try to understand what Vinay sir should bid. Will he want to bid $100? Well, no. His worth by buying this iPhone is $100, and he's paying $100, so his net profit, net utility is zero. Okay, so he'd want to shade down his bid. He'd want to bid something less than $100, so that he can pocket some profit. Well, would you want to bid $50? I mean, after the covers are open and after the result of the auction, you would realize that Aadityan bid 80. So maybe bidding $50 is not a really good thing to do at all. Maybe I should have bid more, right? So it is not clear how much to shade down. You see? I mean, yes, if he somehow knew what my bid was, he would bid $81 because I bid 80, he would bid $81 and win the auction. And by the way, if two bidders bid the same, we break ties arbitrarily. It doesn't matter. Okay. So Vinay sir would bid $81 to win the auction, but he doesn't know that I'm going to bid 80, right? So it is really not clear what you should do as a bidder when you are participating in this auction. I mean, is the confusion that arises from this auction clear? I mean, that's an ironical statement. Is the confusion clear? That's what I'm asking. But well, is the problem that arises from this auction clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Cool. So can someone tell me why this problem is arising? Just have a
Sir,
shot.
I don't.
Yeah,
Sir, I don't understand the issue, sir.
Okay, do you understand this idea of an implicit value which every player has? So Vinay thinks his phone is worth $100 to him. First, do you understand that he need not write $100
Yeah.
as his bid, right? He can write something lower,
Yes, yes.
right? So how low a bid should he write?
It should be as low as you can go, but it should be higher than everyone else's.
Yes, exactly. So if only two people are participating, Vinay sir and I are participating in the auction, I am bidding 80. Okay, so Vinay sir would want to bid 81. Perfect. But the problem is, how would Vinay sir know that I am bidding 80 before the auction starts? So he would know that I am bidding 80 only after the covers are opened, right?
Yes, yes.
So how will he decide what number he is going to write at the start of the auction?
He has to guess.
Exactly. So he'd have to guess, okay, I mean, Aadityan is not taking lectures. Aadityan has an Android phone. So maybe he doesn't require an iPhone. So maybe he's just going to bid $40. He might have to take a blind guess and then bid more. $1 more than his guess. Okay.
Yeah.
But you see, there is an element of confusion there, right? Like, all of a sudden, at the end, at the start of the auction, what if my phone falls down and breaks? Then I would want to bid more. Well, you see, right? So there is an inherent confusion in here, and the general principle in auction theory is as follows: if yeah, go on.
No, I didn't say.
No, wait, I can't really hear you. Can you talk a little louder?
I didn't say anything.
Okay. Yeah. So the general principle in auction theory is as follows, right? I mean, if there is some room for confusion between the agents, then you're probably heading towards disaster. Okay. So we'll try and fix this problem. Yeah, someone had.
So it won't work if it is like this. So if there's confusion, the auction won't work.
I mean, it is not a theorem. It's just what people have looked at in experience.
See for any pattern.
No. I mean, see, it's more an empirical thing. So it's just saying, it's like saying, okay, so if you're confused, will you act better, or if you're not confused, will you act better? When you really can't prove saying if you're not confused, you'll act better. It's just what you observe, right? But we'll fix this so that agents don't have any confusion on what to do. Okay, I'll make one point, and can someone tell me, can people try to reason out what I'm trying to say? The problem here is what Vinay sir is going to pay after winning the auction is dependent on his bid. So if he bids 90, if he wins the auction, he's going to pay 90. All right. So what if I try and ensure that his payment is not dependent on his bid? Okay. If I do that, in some sense, is this confusion solved? So suppose Vinay sir has, thinks his iPhone is worth $100 to him again. And I'll say, okay, if he's the highest bidder, he's going to pay $80 irrespective of what happens. I mean, we just think of it that way. Well, then Vinay sir has no incentive to write 90 or 105. Why? He's going to win the auction anyways, and he's going to get the iPhone for $80. You see, right? I mean, this gives a lot of other problems. I mean, we'll have to see what it means by what it means to win the auction and whatever. But at least what it says is if Vinay sir is like the only bidder and he has to write a bid, There's no reason why he has to write 90 or 105 if his value is 100. All he can just write 100, get the iPhone for $80 and walk home happily. So what we have done here is we have separated the payment that Vinay has to make from his bid. Okay, and that is the key idea that we are going to use. Good. So the first two steps of the auction is going to remain this. Yeah, go on. Who's that?
But if their highest bid is the amount of money they're willing to pay, I mean, if the highest bidder is paying the amount of money from the second highest bidder, then shouldn't the second highest bidder also be counted?
Sorry, shouldn't the second highest bidder be?
Like, shouldn't the second if he is paying the amount of money the second highest bidder is willing to pay, then shouldn't the second highest bidder also be like, it won't work since it'll be unfair for the second highest bidder.
So we'll come to that later. We'll first look at the auction format and then I'll talk about that point. Okay. So what we'll do is instead of first price auction, we'll run this thing called a second price auction. Yes, Karan.
Sir, I have a doubt that if someone bids only $1, then is it compulsory for the auctioneer to sell that, or he has the option to sell or not?
That is a nice question. So that is something called a base price. I mean, of course, you guys would know, given that you all know the IPL auction. So having a base price makes sense in some settings. It might not make sense in other settings. So suppose you're the government, right? And your idea is not to make revenue, but you want to ensure people are living well. Then to sell off a good, you won't have a base price. So you would essentially want to sell off the good to the person with the highest value. But if you're a company and you want to make a profit, then you would want to have a base price to ensure you actually get some revenue out of it. You see? But having a base price, what base price to have, those are all next. I mean, the at least the second step that you ask in auction. So this is the first step. Okay. Is there any follow up to this? But those are nice questions. So keep shooting them. Someone started asking a question again.
Govind has raised his hand, Onkar. Govind.
Yeah, go on.
So what if two people did the same amount, like both the people amount promised to pay
break price arbitrarily.
$100, for example.
Just break price arbitrarily. I mean, toss a coin, or say, okay, this guy's name begins earlier in the alphabetical order. Just give the code however you want. Yep.
So you're saying that the highest bidder will pay the value of the second highest bidder.
I'm not saying that yet, but I'll say that soon.
So if the logic is that, then everyone will bid the highest and they'll pay the lower bidder's amount, right?
I mean, if everyone bids the highest, where is the lower bidder there? That's the problem, right?
That's what.
I mean, there is no lower bidder if everyone bids the same. So whoever wins will have to pay the highest.
That situation?
Okay, first I'll talk about this auction and then I'll take the question. Is that fine? Yeah, so the point here is, well, the first two steps are the same. Bidders write a bid on their envelope and then they submit the bid. And then what we do is we award the iPhone to the highest bidder. Good. Now what we do is we want to do the separation, right? I mean, we don't want the bidder to pay something that is related to the bid. So what we'll do is we'll ask the highest bidder to pay the bid of the second highest bidder. That is all we are asking to do. So wait, someone raised their hand. I didn't notice their name, but whoever raised their hand just start speaking.
Yeah, so I had a doubt. So over here, the maximum value is $100 to bid. But why isn't there a minimum value instead of a maximum value?
I mean, wait, why is the maximum $100?
Why can't we bid above that?
I mean, you can bid about that, right? I mean, no one's stopping you.
It's written best to bid is $100. That's why.
Oh, that is because you need to read the other two bullet points also. Like someone has a value of $100, best for them is to bid $100.
But I value it at $1,000.
Then the best is for you to like bid at 1,000. We'll talk about it pretty soon. Okay. We'll see what happens here. I mean, we'll take this example again. So suppose Vinay sir thinks that the iPhone is worth $100, and then the second highest among the others is $80. Okay. Would he want to increase his bid? Someone.
So preferably yes, because the other bidders, knowing that his bid is $80, being the highest bid, they might value it at something higher and give a higher.
No, I'm telling you the highest bid amongst the others is $80. That's all I'm saying. Like getting the bid is done.
Okay, so what is our bid?
Excuse me, sorry. Sorry, go on.
So the highest among the other bidders is $80, but what is our
bid? So see, so the highest among other bidders is $80, and we are deciding what to bid. Okay. And what I'm saying is, what I'm trying to show is, irrespective of what other people bid, it is best for me to bid 100. Okay. So when I say when I say that the highest among other people is 80, this 80 is not something which is very special. This 80 is some number which is less than 100. So I'm saying the second highest bid is less than 100. Okay. Then what is the best thing for us to do?
Bid at 100.
Bid 100. Why? What if I overbid? What if I bid 105?
So then we are paying more than what we value does. So we'll get a net loss.
No, sorry, can you repeat? Your voice is a little unclear.
So then our bid is higher than our value. So we'll be incurring a net loss.
No, we won't be incurring a net loss because we'll still be paying 80, which is the second highest bid. But what happens is, I'll be paying 80 irrespective of what I bid, right? I mean, I bid 100, I'll pay 80. I bid 105, I'll still bid 80.
Why so?
Because we are charging the highest bidder the value of the second highest bid, right? We are not charging.
Oh, but why so?
I mean, why we are charging this way?
Yeah.
I mean, why not just charge and we'll see if we can prove some nice things.
Okay.
Sir, and even paying 200 won't affect us.
Even paying 200, I mean, you mean even bidding 200 won't affect us?
Yeah.
So exactly.
But I guess, but it wouldn't be fair since no matter how much the highest bidder is actually willing to pay, they end up actually getting the phone for the amount of money the second highest bidder was paying. So if the second highest bidder, so they're basically taking the amount of money the second highest bidder was going to pay. So if they were actually bidding for that amount, shouldn't they be actually paying that? But going to the second highest bidder, it won't be correct for them to do that.
So wait, I'll answer this question pretty soon. Okay, I'll finish this argument and then I'll answer your question. Does that work? So where are we? So we had shown one side, right? I mean, if I'm bidding, if my value is 100, overbidding is not going to help. Okay, will underbidding help? I'll finish this argument. I'll take a question. Okay. So if I bid 90, I'm going to win anyways, and I'm still going to pay 80 only. So the profit I'm going to get is still 100 minus 80. But if I try to be too clever and then bid 79 at the end of it, well, I'm not the highest bidder anymore. So by underbidding, I'm only risking losing the good that I would have gotten anyways. Okay. So if I'm the highest bidder, there is no reason for me to overbid. There is no reason for me to underbid. Okay. Now if I'm the second highest bidder, if I underbid, well, nothing's going. Yeah.
Yeah, but how will we? But since since we don't know how much money the other people are paying, how do we know for the highest bidder so that we can know if we're overpaying or underpaying?
No, see, so we'll do two kinds of analysis, right? So one will say the highest bidder need not overpay, underpay, overbid, underbid, and we'll say others also need not overbid and underbid. So then we are essentially saying, okay, anyone need not overbid and underbid. That's what we are trying to say, right? Do you see?
No, but if how do we know that? Like, since we are randomly guessing something, and we don't know how much another person is going to pay, so obviously we're just guessing what they're paying. So how will we like figure out in the end? How will we think? Oh, I'm the highest bidder. I'm overpaying, so I can pay lesser, and so I don't have to worry.
When I say overpay or underpay, I'm not saying bidding above someone else's bid or bidding under someone else's bid. What I'm saying by overbid and underbid is I value this phone to be $100. If I get this $100, I can take a couple more lectures with this. There'll be like nice quality lectures. I can make $100 money with buying this iPhone. All right. So that is my value.
Oh, okay.
And when I say overbid or underbid, I'm saying bidding more than this $100 or bidding under this $100. This overbid and underbid has nothing to do with other people's bids. Yeah.
So here, if I am paying $150 and the second highest bidder is paying $80, I am underpaying here, and I win. I will pay the second highest bidder's money, and I will be underpaying.
So if you are bidding $2, you are no more the highest bidder. Remember.
Oh.
So you won't even win the auction.
Yes.
So by shading down, you are risking to lose the auction which you could have happily won.
So okay, but then okay.
And by shading up, you are not gaining anything. You are going to pay the bid of the second highest bidder anyways. Okay, this is for the highest bidder. For the second highest bidder or the second highest valued person, if that person shades its bid down, well, earlier this guy was not winning because it was, not the second highest, but it was not the highest bidder. So it's not going to win anyways. It has only reduced its bid. It's not going to win anyways either. What if it increases its bid? Okay, so my value is $80. I'm currently bidding 80. And suppose, when I said actually bid 90, for example. Okay. What if I actually increase my bid and actually match Vinay's bid? Okay, so suppose I bid 91. I will win this iPhone. I have to pay 91 because Vinay sir is bidding 90, so I'll have to pay 90, not 91. The utility that I get out of this phone is not the worth that I get out of this phone is 80. I'm paying 90, so I end up with a loss. So if I'm not the highest valued person, if I overbid and win, I'm going to end up with a loss. Okay. So if I'm the highest bidder, there is no reason for me to overbid and underbid. If I'm not the second highest bidder, there is no reason for me to overbid and underbid. So for everyone, the best thing for everyone to do is to actually pay their exact value. Yeah, now I'll take questions. So one question that was asked about why is that the highest bidder not paying $100 whatever it bid, but rather paying the second highest bid. Okay. So think of it this way: as an auctioneer, I had a very simple thing to do. I could have actually charged this $100 from the bidder who won. All right. But then there was giving rise to a lot of confusion. I would want to, pull this confusion down. I mean, even if the highest bidder is willing to pay, is getting a worth of $100 to it, if it actually has to pay its bid, the highest bidder is not going to pay $100. It's going to, bid something around 90, 85, and then it's going to try to pocket some profit. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to say, okay, I'm going to kill down the confusion in this group. In this auction, I'm going to kill down the confusion. But nothing comes for free. So in order to kill down this confusion, I say, okay, even though I know that someone is getting a value of $100 by selling by getting this phone, I'm not going to charge $100 from that person. I'm going to charge something lesser to kill this confusion. In some sense, think of it this way, right? The simplest thing to do will be to ask Vinay sir, okay, how much can you make by getting this phone? He will say $100. Ask me next, how much can you make by getting this phone? I will say $80. Then sort that numbers, and then because Vinay sir will make most money by getting this phone, we'll give that phone to him. But the problem is Vinay sir need not say $100. He might say 85 and then try to pocket some money. This is exactly what happens in the first price auction. So we are
Adityan,
trying to
just a heads up, you have 10 minutes left.
okay, nice. So what we are doing is we are trying to learn Vinay sir's value. Okay. And because we are trying to learn something here, we need to pay for that. All right. So we pay to learn Vinay sir's value. And by learning Vinay sir's value, we are killing all the confusion that was present. All right. So this notion of what you have to pay is called information rent. And as the name suggests, you are paying some rent for information. And that is why as the auctioneer, you are not able to collect all the $100 which Vinay sir would have been paying. If he had actually told you that he is willing to pay at most 100, right? So that is a very nice notion to look up. Just try Googling and see if you are able to understand anything that comes up. I mean, this area is pretty new. So going to the start of all this should not take a long time. Okay, any other questions? I mean, I had a lot of questions some time back, right? I mean, ideally I would want to answer all those. So just ask your questions again. Doesn't matter. Yeah, go ahead.
I answered you answered my questions while explaining the other things.
Okay, that is cool. Then we'll finish this story about the auctions in New Zealand. Okay, well, so when we are auctioning just one iPhone, so we say okay, the second price auction in some sense is a lie detecting mechanism. Everyone would want to pay, would want to bid their exact value. Overbidding is bad for them, underbidding is bad for them. So in some sense, we have designed a nice lie detecting mechanism. Oh, and by the way, before we proceed ahead, so this ascending auction that we have in the IPL, right? That is equivalent to the second highest second price auction. Can anyone tell me why?
Sir, can you repeat
Can
the
you repeat
question?
your question?
So the money that the winner pays in the IPL auction is similar to what the winner pays in the second prize auction. Can someone tell me why?
Sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, I think it's because the highest bidder will eventually be pushed to the point where he bids the value of that player. Maybe that won't be his initial bid, but because the other bidders will bid higher than him, eventually he'll be pushed to bid his actual value.
No. I mean, so when I said this is equal, I'm not talking about the bids. I'm talking about what the highest bidder will have to pay, or the highest valued person will have to pay. Okay. Maybe I'll put this argument. Okay. So suppose KKR and CSK are trying to buy Pat Cummins. Okay. And assume other teams have bought sufficient number of fast bowlers. Their value for buying another fast bowler is 0. Okay. And CSK thinks if they buy Pat Cummins, they'll get some worth of about say 15 crores, and KKR thinks they'll get a worth of about 17 crores. Okay. Now Pat Cummins' base price is okay. He's a premium player. His base price is 2 crores, and people start bidding. When will the auction end? Okay. CSK is willing to pay at most 15 crores for Pat Cummins. Okay. So the auction ends at 15 crores because CSK will also keep bidding till the auction reaches 15 crores. CSK's value is 15, KKR's value is 17. And KKR also will also keep bidding till the auction reaches 15 crores. Okay. At 15 crores, KKR will bid, but CSK won't bid. So if like this increase is say like 10 lakhs for instance, I mean it's I think multiples of 50 lakhs at 15 crores, but doesn't matter. We'll say it's 10 lakhs. What KKR is paying for CSK is not 17 crores. What it values Pat Cummins. It's actually paying the value of the second highest bidder. You see, right? So they are actually paying some tiny amount over what CSK was willing to pay. Do you see? So in some sense, the IPL auction is similar to the second prize auction and not similar to the first prize auction. Is this equivalence clear?
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get back to this big mess up that happened in New Zealand. So you saw that with just one iPhone, we were actually able to detect a really amazing light detecting mechanism, right? And what people in New Zealand thought, I mean, the people who ran that auction in 1990 thought, okay, we have a nice light detecting mechanism for one iPhone. Why not run 10 parallel auctions for that, right? So what essentially happened was, there are 10 blocks of spectrum being auctioned. People from different houses had to write, some bid for each of these 10 and then put it in a box. And then the auctioneer opened the boxes one by one and then decided who was the winner one by one. So all bids had to be submitted simultaneously. Okay. The problem here is the problem that we discussed some time back about buying 10 cricket bats. Every auction, every business house would want to buy exactly one spectrum, right? And if we actually have this kind of a second price auction run in parallel, what if people actually bid truthfully? I mean, truthfully meaning people bid their actual values and end up buying all 10 of them. That is a big disaster for each business house, right? So once again, this confusion that we tried to clear up by setting the second highest bid to be the selling price, a different kind of confusion starts to occur here. Okay. So as a bidder, what would I want to do? So I would say, okay, number 7 is my favorite number. I would go all out for number 7. And then I'll hope no one else goes all out for number 7. I'll be able to bag something. I'll go home. Another thing that I can say is okay, maybe going all out for a certain auction, a certain spectrum block is looking a little risky to me. I'll hedge my bets. So I'm willing to pay at most say 10 million. I'll pay 1 million. I'll bid $1 million in each of the 10 spectrum. And if you think of it, both are reasonable strategy. So the first strategy is saying, okay, I think my value is pretty high. I'll go all in and I'll ensure I'll buy one. The other is saying, no, my value is not very high. I'll just see if I can sneak past in some auction and somehow manage to just win it. But the problem is, there are two reasonable strategies, and there is no way to prove like there is one optimal. And in fact, I can talk about 13 different reasonable strategies. All we need to do is sit for some time and cook up reasonable strategies. So it is not clear what to do, right? I mean, the question that I asked you is whether something is not clear, and I hope it's not clear because, well, then you just essentially solved a very big problem. I hope someone makes it clear at some stage. So we'll go on. And this confusion actually, caused a very big disaster. So we said, from initial surveys and all, business houses were actually willing to pay around $250 million in total. So there was this house A that would pay 50 million, the house B that will pay 10 million, and then it amounted to $250 million in total. But the auction managed to collect only $36 million in total. And to make things bad, people actually recorded bids saying, okay, what is the highest bid, what is the second highest bid for each spectrum block. There was one spectrum block in which the highest bid was $100,000, which is already bad. We are talking about 250 million in total revenue. So even if it was like 10 spectrum, we are talking about 25 million per spectrum. So $100,000 per spectrum is not really good. But the second highest bid was like 6. And I'm not talking about $6,000. It's just $6. So someone actually bought spectrum block for $6. So it was such a disaster. So the idea behind the story is to say, okay, why designing a good auction is really important. And one good fix can be is to actually have an IPL kind of auction. So have an ascending auction, 10 ascending auctions run in parallel. So what people might do is they say, okay, the cost here is really low. I'll go and bid there for some time. And okay, the cost here is now low. I'll go ahead and bid for some time. So in some sense, the range in which the values of the goods are is visible to people. I mean, I won't talk in deep about this, but the idea is ascending auctions really fix it. So maybe I'll take questions. Do I have time for questions, Shweta? Okay, so I'll take questions. So if there are any questions, ask me. I mean, we'll conclude the talk here.
Thank you,
Can
Aditya.
raise hand if you have any questions.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, there are some messages in the chat. I hope you didn't put your question in the chat. I shouldn't be looking at chat. Oh, okay, there are no questions. That's
Yeah.
so they were not missed. So I mean, guys, we are talking about auctions, guys. I mean, I really find auctions to be really amazing. I mean, it not be questions also, it could be comments. I mean, fairness is something that you guys were really interested in. I mean, people have not studied fair auctions per se, but people have studied fair division. I mean, so if you're, say, trying to share a cake, for instance, I like, say, dry fruits in cakes, whereas, you like cream. Then, one way to divide this cake fairly is to actually divide the cake, so that, each of us get 50% dry fruits and each of it gets, 50% cream. But there is another way to do this fairly. I get a lot more dry fruits than you do. You get a lot more cream than I do. So in some sense, once again, here, like every people, like each one had a different value, right? So similarly, the happiness that a person gets out of a certain block of cake might be different. And the idea is to divide a cake so that, no one would be unhappy at the end of the division. So that is one really studied area in auctions theory. I mean, this talk didn't have a lot of math, and trust me, if you're interested in math, a lot of math actually happens in auction theory. I just wanted to tell stories today. I don't want to do a lot of math. So if you're
Sir?
interested in math, yeah. Yes, go on, go on.
So how exactly did the New Zealand auction in 1990 get 36 million out of 250?
Yeah, so see, the point is, as a bidder, I don't know whether I want to bid all out in number 7 or whether to bid 2 million in each of the 10, right?
Yes, sir.
So there was one example that I didn't make up the numbers, right? So the highest bid was $100,000. The second highest bid was 6. So essentially, you think of it like, selling an aircraft, and you buy an aircraft for $6. That is a big disaster.
Okay, sir. So whoever was the second highest bidder, the person who bid 6, so they were just putting in 6 as a namesake for that.
Exactly. So they just want to say, okay, if no one is bidding here, if people just forget to bid in this in this particular spectrum block, maybe we'll try to be cheeky and get that guy home.
Okay, so the mistake that the auctioneers made was thinking that at least one person would go all out in each one of the 10 blocks.
Kind of. I mean, they thought. I mean, so with just one iPhone, it makes a lot of sense to run the second price auction, right?
Yes, sir.
They just forgot that running these 10 auctions in parallel is not the same as I mean, the analysis is not the same as running just one iPhone auction.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of work has happened on this spectrum auction. So in 2013, a spectrum auction happened in the US. So they actually ran a pretty fun kind of auction. So they actually bought back auction from few people, sold it to a different set of people. It's a really cool auction, and that I think the expected revenue was like around 10 billion or something, and the revenue at the end was around 19 billion. So the good work has happened from 1990. We are not as sad as we were 3 decades earlier. Yep. Any more questions, folks?
Don't think anyone has any questions. So thank you, I think. Yeah, thank you, Adityan. An excellent session. And in spite of being so unwell, you managed to take the session. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. I think it's really fun interacting with you guys, and hope I see you guys in some RAM TP or Epsilon if you're still eligible to attend Epsilon.
Adityan, somebody had just written something. Which year did the badminton tournaments take place? 2012 London Olympics. Oh, okay.
Yeah, 2012 London Olympics. Maybe I'll post the YouTube link if you guys hang around for a little while. I mean, if you feel really bored with life, you can actually watch that game.
Shah, sir, can you put the link?
Sorry?
Sir, Shah, sir, can you please put the link in the chat?
Yeah. Wait. I'll find the link. (2012) London Olympics badminton. And there are 2 China teams playing. So controversy happened with one of the 2 Chinese teams. So wait, I think this is the one. I mean, even if this is not the game, I mean, just try googling 2012 London Olympics badminton controversy. You'll probably find this. The game actually starts really late. I think some 10-15 minutes after the video starts. It covers some pop-ups and all.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sure. See you all,
Thank
folks.
you, sir.
Thank you, Adityan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye. Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Thank you.
Very interesting.